All right, welcome. Hope you're having a great night tonight. Hope you're having a great start to your week. Karen will be joining us shortly here. She'll be here and we'll be having some conversation together. But while we're waiting on her, a couple of things to say. First of all, hope you're having a great day, having a great start to your week. I know it's Monday. Monday, it's always hard to get back into the swing of things. But hopefully you are able to do that and you're having a good beginning to your week. And there she is. Just saying, she's going to be joining us here. She's coming. She's on her way. But thank you for stopping by, spending a little bit of time with us. And a couple of things to get started with. First of all, make sure you check out our merch store. We have popping corks. We did
not coordinate this. We're both wearing blue.
We are wearing blue.
We're both wearing blue.
We
didn't coordinate this.
No.
Oh well.
We're wearing blue. Anyway, go by our merch store. Check out our popping corks. I've not yet made this one live yet. This is our Texas Rattler edition. It features the line there, and it works very well. We're catching fish. No, do not shake it.
I'm gonna shake it.
It's very. It's got a good sound to it. I know. And then this one we've got. This is our classic edition. It's got the metal that is for the.
Can I shake that one?
No, you cannot shake that one. And then we also got our fishing rig holders as well that we're selling. So check all that stuff out. We got hats and shirts and stuff like that, so check that out. And but welcome to the live show. We've got some things that we're going to talk about, and let us know that you're here. If you are here, let us know that you're here. And Senior Misterioso says, ain't nothing to it but to do it. That's right. Yeah, we are here. We are having a good time, and we are getting ready to go out and enjoy this evening together.
Yeah.
We went fishing this weekend.
Yes. Twice.
Yeah.
We just filled the whole weekend with fishing because next weekend we are big Aggie fans. We are going to go see an Aggie game.
Well, this coming weekend at Kyle's party too.
And this week, yes. So this weekend, my son turns another age, and I won't say how old because that will make me look old. We're not saying it. So my son gets older, and so we're having a big little celebration for him. And even though we don't want them to get older, we do and we don't.
Yeah,
you know.
Right.
And then the next weekend we have an Aggie game plan, so it might be 2 weeks before we can get back.
We'll
so
see.
we just fished all weekend.
Ben, greetings to you. Hopefully you're having a great start to your week, and also Stanley. Hopefully you're having a great start to your week as well.
Here.
Stanley Richard is here. Good evening to you guys as well. So we did go out fishing. We went out to the jetties and we went beach fishing. The jetties were a little rough on Friday. It was just uncomfortable to sit there. The boat did great, but it was just kind of uncomfortable to sit there. But we did catch them. And then also we went beach fishing and got some fish there too. Not in the quantity or size, but we did catch them. So
yes, we did. There was a lot of fish activity, really.
Yeah.
Sharks, whiting, and everything. We were just, for some reason, the 3 redfish that we saw were actually just floaters. Like they were
somebody
dead.
had tried to release them and they just didn't make it.
Yeah,
so that's unfortunate. We'll do a catch and cook coming up. So that'll be coming up, so stay tuned for that as well. But why you're here tonight is because we have some things to talk about. And the first one's kind of a weird story, but I thought, got to start off with the weird stuff.
Yeah. Because
that's just fun. So here it is. I don't know if you've seen this or not yet, and we were at the beach this weekend. I didn't see any, but I don't know if you've seen them. If you've seen them, let me know in the chat.
Isn't it kind of hard to spot them? I mean, we kind of have like brown water, and then we're trying to spot worms.
Yeah. So here we go. It says fireworms.
It's hard.
That's what they look like too.
It's hard to spot.
Nasty looking things. Crazy looking things. They got these
white
hairs.
Do they always float?
I don't know. I've not seen them. I don't know. It says fireworms wash up at Texas beaches as researchers ring alarm not to touch.
Don't touch the worms. I mean, not that I normally would.
Right. Well, the best way not to get injured by them is don't touch them.
Yes.
You know, if you can.
Well, they tell us not to touch jellyfish either.
Yeah, they
but
do.
some people sit there
Stanley
and they're like,
says, got me some fancy schmancy new Texas Rattler pie. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did. We sent you one of the prototypes. And yeah, I'd love to see what you what you think about those. Please let me know how they work for you because I'm still testing, but I really think they're performing well. We've been catching some good fish on them, so I think they're performing pretty well. And he says, we ran into fireworms in Mexico before. Do not touch. Yeah, that's the thing. So in the article, it talks about what is happening here. And it says, if you live in Texas, you may have seen some worms washing up on the beaches like this. I haven't seen them. but maybe they're out there. Whatever you do, don't touch them. They're called fireworms. They carry a nasty sting. This comes courtesy, by the way, of Wide Open Spaces. And they say, fireworms are marine creatures that resemble something out of a science fiction novel. They're covered in bristles that look like the end of a brush. Their hair-like structures are full of venom. So that's what,
So kind of like a jellyfish. It has a sting to it.
Yeah, it has a sting to it. And they talk about what it feels like. They say it feels like if you get stung by it, it feels like fire. If you touch it and get stuck in the actual little needles, they get into your skin. And then they say it can actually cause pain for 3 hours and also dizziness and nausea and things like that.
If you have a child with you on the beach, that's not going to be fun.
No,
they touch that.
No. They say dizziness, confusion, probably because of the pain, I would think.
So do you treat it the same way as a jellyfish?
Well, here's the funny thing. He says, this is according to the guy from the Hart Research Institute for Gulf Mexico Studies at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. He says this is what you do. If you do happen to get stung by this, so hopefully this will help you. If for some reason you're like, there's something red and fuzzy on the beach, I gotta touch it.
Yeah.
And so you go up and you touch it, or somehow you just are playing beach volleyball and you fall on it or step on it or whatever it is. They said what you got to do is you got to put duct tape. I'm reading it right off here. I can't believe it. It says, what do you do if you get stung? He says, well, Tunnel said that you need to remove the bristles. You put duct tape over the sting area and rip the bristles
Okay, so apparently they kind of stick to you.
Yeah. So rip them out with duct tape.
So you should have duct tape on every beach trip.
Yeah. So that's just another reason to carry duct tape with you.
As well as vinegar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they did say warm water and vinegar. That's
So bring your vinegar, bring your duct tape, like every good fisherman should have.
Yeah, you gotta have duct tape. I mean, they say what duct tape has a light side and a dark side and it holds the world together.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have, when your rod falls apart, when the shark breaks the reel, you gotta have the duct tape.
He says Stanley says had zero issues with venom. Our issue was the
bristles.
The bristles. I'm thinking he's saying bristles. Like prickly pear thorns and hard to get out because they break. So duct tape sounds right to me.
Oh, so they're like tiny, and then you try to get them with your fingers, and then they just break, so you can't get them out of your arm.
Yeah, so they're just stuck there.
So apparently duct tape
duct
is your
tape,
friend. Like
bring
stick
some duct tape
and one big, rip it like a Band-Aid.
Ben says, I carry duct tape in my truck and rope. The police have so many questions.
Just tell them it's for fireworms.
It's for the fireworms.
It's for the fireworm.
It's about the fireworms.
The rope is for towing people off the beach, and the duct tape is for the fireworms.
It's for the fireworms.
No questions.
And let's see, Senior Mysterioso says, whiz on the wound just to be sure. Yeah.
Well, if you're in a Friends episode.
Yeah, I mean, that's what friends are for, I suppose. I don't know.
Although vinegar might work.
Yeah, vinegar, I would just say keep the vinegar with you.
Like a small bottle.
So the article concludes with the idea of basically you can avoid this situation by not touching the animal to begin with. Solid advice.
But sometimes you don't see it and you step on it.
Yeah.
And there's times where, it's not like you went to pick it up, but maybe it brushes against you while it's washing ashore. Just like nobody means to step right on a sea urchin. I wouldn't think you would want to step on a sea urchin, but plenty of people have had sea urchin thistles in their feet, like my sister.
Yeah.
And get so infected that they eventually have to have surgery on your foot because you didn't get them all.
Now she's just telling family secrets over here, right? Stanley Wish said, I agree with Senior Mysterioso. That's an old Texas cure for everything. Yeah, if you don't know what to do, pee on it. There you go.
Oh, I thought he was talking about the duct tape.
Well, or maybe it's the duct tape and the rope. I don't know if that's
the cure for everything.
That's a cure for everything, but okay. Senior Mysterio says blue dragons, fireworm, acid gulls. Oh yeah. If we start having problems with the seagulls, I think that's gonna be an issue.
Although I was very disappointed. I was very disappointed this weekend because I was there on the beach. I had my cast net out because I saw a big group of mullet. I saw it swim by me. I was like, oh man, those are perfect sized finger mullets. So and our dead ladyfish is getting caught with the seaweed. So I was like, I need a live mullet. And I saw them swim by, run to get the net. They swim past me. So then I'm looking for them, right? And then I see this group farther down of birds just hammering it into the water. And I was like, oh, the birds found him.
Yep,
the birds found him. I walked all the way down to this spot because I thought the mullet swam that far. All the way down, only to find that some family had chopped up 1,000 pieces of strawberries, threw them in the water, and the seagulls and the birds were going after the pieces of strawberries floating, and there was no mullet to be found. And I cast net probably 15 times along the shore and then 15 the other side and nothing. So there was only that one, but I was just so disappointed that someone would throw strawberries and intentionally feed the birds and made me think that they were hitting the mullet.
What are you going to do?
Anybody ever experienced that? You thought there was a school of mullet and there's people feeding them. Yeah.
I don't know. That was first for me.
Ugh.
Daryl D says, lived in Texas my life, over 50 years, been visiting the coastal bend to fish the whole time. Never heard of these things or the blue dragon things. Where did y'all hear about these? This article, Daryl, comes from the wideopenspaces.com. It's actually been all over the internet. The Hart Research Institute for Gulf of Mexico Studies at Texas A&M Corpus Christi is the one who's talking about it. Yeah. So that's where I picked up the Fireworms stories from. The blue dragons, that was a story. It was a few months ago about these. Well, they look like blue jellyfish, really, and they're venomous. Yeah, so I don't know why they're coming here. I mean, that's a good question about how they got here or where they came from. Maybe they're catching a ride on boats or something. Like, hey, they're letting everybody into America. Let's go, and so maybe that's, they just didn't want. I don't know. I don't know how they got here or why they're here now. But these reports are just circulating all over the internet. And so I thought the article actually said it's something like out of a science fiction novel. And I would say, yeah, it's kind of like it's just weird. And Grant, thanks for stopping by the channel. Hopefully you're doing well, having a great start to your week as well. So that is the Fireworm story. So if you're on the beach, just make sure you are
equipped with duct tape and vinegar.
Bring the duct tape, bring the vinegar, and go to the beach.
Now there was something else you were talking about.
Yeah, this story. This one is...
Oh yeah, this one's a little more concerning.
This one's a little bit concerning, and this one comes out of The Conversation, which is an academic journal, and I'm not going to nerd out on you tonight, I promise. I will show you the actual abstract from the study from Science Advisor, but this was really concerning on a bunch of different levels, and I wanted to show this to you because we talk about the environment, we talk about conservation, and when I saw this article, it was one of those things like, no, that can't be right. That can't be true. But it was just something that really concerned me, so I thought that I would share it with you guys as well so you'd be aware of this. But like I said, this comes courtesy of The Conversation. They say, investigation reveals global fisheries are in far worse shape than we thought, and many have already collapsed. If you know anything about biology or even just ecosystems, there's building blocks in them. You have the small, and it's the food chain. You guys know how that works. It's the food chain. And the smaller fish, bigger fish, bigger fish, bigger fish to the apex predators. Well, the problem that we're seeing around the globe from overfishing is causing massive issue. Now, again, anecdotally, you always hear, even here in Texas, you always hear the old timers who have been fishing for a long time saying, the fishing just isn't what it used to be. And you always think, well, that's just because, they're older or whatever, and they just want to...
nostalgia or something.
Yeah, and think, things are never as good as they once were, that sort of thing. But the studies are starting to come out, and it's very disturbing. And so this, like I said, this comes from The Conversation. I'm not going to read the whole article to you. Matter of fact, I should just put this link. Let me see if I can do this real quick. I'll put a link to the article. That's not going to work. Well, yeah, I don't know if that'll work. If that link works, hopefully that link will work. If not, then here is the actual one from Science. Put that one in the comments as well so you can see that. But it says this. It says, when fish are taken from our oceans faster than they can reproduce, their population numbers decline. Of course.
That's obvious.
Yeah, we know that. This overfishing upsets marine ecosystems, and it's bad for human populations that rely on fish for protein in their diets. So what they did was, and again, there's a lot of numbers, and I'm not going to go into all of that. If you want to read the studies, read the studies. But It says they studied 230 fisheries around the world, and they found populations of many of the overfished species were in far worse condition than had been previously reported, and the sustainability of the fisheries was being overstated. And so they go into all this, and again, there's a lot in here, but just so that you don't think that it's not here, one of the fisheries they were studying was the United States. It says our investigation tested on how accurate estimates of fish stocks were, and it involved examining data from 230 of the world's largest fisheries spanning 128 fish species. So this is a very comprehensive study. They include fishing areas of Australia, New Zealand, United States, Europe, and United Kingdom, Canada, Argentina, and South America. And what they found was that we focus on a depletion in the biomass or total weight of fish stocks. When the fish catch falls to below 10% of its biomass when fishing began, the stock is said to have collapsed. And that's what they're finding, is that they're expecting a certain amount of fish to be in an area, and what they're finding is it's so low that it's at the point of collapse. And that's really concerning. I don't know if that concerns you guys. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. But they said that the earlier stock assessments were too optimistic about the number of fish in the ocean. They don't say why. One of the issues they say is overfishing, commercial fishing. They say that's one of them. But they said that for sustainably fished stocks, the earlier estimates were generally accurate, but for stocks that were overfished, they were overestimated. And so they try to figure out why this discrepancy in the numbers, and they aren't really coming up with anything. It says that they just have inaccurate models, and their inaccurate models are producing inaccurate results. And so it's just a major issue, and it's really concerning because a lot of populations, I mean, for those of us, for a lot of, we're recreational fishers. We do it for fun. We do it because we enjoy being outdoors. We enjoy that sort of thing. But at the same time, for some countries, this is their way of life. They rely on the fishery, and if commercial harvests are coming in and just decimating it, then that, and Ben, I think you're right. I think that's what it is. Follow the money and the power. It is a money game. We see that even where we are with different organizations that go in there and they do things, and they want to pick on one industry and not on the others, and it creates a lot of problems. And again, I don't want to go into all this. I don't want to bore you too badly, but again, this is something that I don't know that I know the answer to, because it's not recreational fishing that we're talking about here. We're really talking about commercial fishing.
When they're bringing in tons and tons and tons of fish. That's what they're saying. 28,000 tons. They're talking about when they have to get a permit to get that vessel out there to bring back thousands of pounds of fish to sell.
Senior Mysterious says, I know everyone hates size and bag limits, but imagine how bad things would be here in Texas if it weren't for them and the stocking programs. Yeah, that stocking program, they release a lot of fish now. And that should tell you something. If they have to stock saltwater fish, something's wrong. Something is going on. They should
be repleting themselves.
They
should be replacing themselves with the thousands of eggs that every fish drops.
You know, some of you that are lifelong Texans, and maybe if you're in a different area, if you're in Florida or along the Gulf Coast, wherever you are, I know there were times here in Texas where they didn't even have bag limits and things. They didn't have size requirements, and they didn't have those sort of things. I almost think
it's the reason we're having to do that now is because we weren't careful, and I don't say we, but people 50 years ago weren't careful.
And this is kind of like the repercussions
when
of
we lived in...
But Ben is right, too. Years of regulations not fix it, so we need more regulations. More regulations, I don't think it's going to fix it. I don't know what regulations you could put into place that would actually stop...
Well, the commercial ones.
Yes, you have to go after the money.
Regulations.
You really do, yeah.
You have to go after the big ones, not the people who are catching 2 fish on a weekend.
Mm-hmm. And Ben just mentioned this too. I'll get to that comment in just a minute. Well, let me get the other comments.
And education too, teaching people, hey, when you keep that red drum and you don't have a tag and you haven't done, even if you do, you're keeping when you keep that oversized, you're keeping thousands of eggs out of the ocean. Yeah. You know, you keep that 42-inch fish you really don't need.
Yeah. Stanler says, I've seen the wake of croaker behind the shrimpers and it's sad. And I don't have a resolution here. It's just a sad state of affairs. It really is. And then Ben says the stocking program, and this is what I was going to mention, the stocking programs have unintentional consequences. They find that in Alaska. One of the things that they have shown is that stocking programs can be detrimental at times because you're putting more pressure on the bait fish. And more pressure on the bait fish leads to less surviving fish. And the food sources become an issue. So that is an unintended consequence when you release hundreds of thousands or thousands and thousands of fish into an area. To stop and think, can the food source support that amount of fish? And a lot of times they can't, and so they do have that unintended consequences. That is a very good point. And then Stanley Richard says the regulations doesn't sound like the answer. Name a single a single large-scale regulation that solved a large-scale issue, and I can't. And that's the thing.
I mean, maybe if it applied to all people,
Yeah, but I think you have to go after the money. It has to be a money thing.
And just the numbers. Who is the one pulling most of the fish out of the ocean? And just look there.
Well, and that's what I wanted to show here. And I thought the name of the fish was really funny because I couldn't believe it was called a jackass morong. I just thought that was hilarious. They said it was a deep sea perch. Hey, we're in Texas. Everything's a perch, right? Right? Everything's a perch. And it's the same thing in Australia and New Zealand. Everything is a perch. I thought that was great. Anyway, back to the article. It says it was found in southern Australia. In 2009, models estimated the total stock for southeastern Australia at 4,680 tons, 22% of the 21,200 tons that existed when fishing began. The estimate informed decision by fisher managers on how many fish could be sustainably caught in future years. But modeling in 2014 indicates stock size in 2009 was more likely to have been 3,330 tons, and the initial stock size was probably about 28,800 tons. That means that in 2009, stocks would likely have been depleted to 12% of original levels, not 22. So that's a big deal. And it says by 2022, and again, not reading it all, but by 2022, however, the declining fish numbers were clear. That year, the authority announced 5 ocean areas that would close.
To trawl fishers. You see that. They're walking, they're pulling their nets and just scooping up tons.
Yeah.
That's not catching.
No, they're just scooping it all up.
Netting them. Netting them.
So you're having those big trawlers, and they're just scooping up everything along the paths. And I think that's going to be the problem. There's a new T-shirt for you. What? Everything's a perch in Texas.
Yeah.
That's a good shirt. That is a good shirt. Yeah. I'm making that shirt. Yeah. I want to see that in your store. I want to see it. Stanley, I want to see it in your store by close of business Friday. Okay. I want you to design it. I want you to get it out there because everything is a perch in Texas. Doesn't matter. It's just what kind of perch is it? Ben says speckled perch, red perch, black perch, flat perch, gaff perch. Everything's a perch.
Yep.
It's just easier that way. It's just perch, and you've already got a customer there. Yeah, there you go. You already sold one.
He's gonna buy one.
Gotta buy one. So
now they're gonna have to buy back all those permits they sent, because they literally Australia's got to have that fish, so they can't let it run away. So they're gonna have to stop fishing for a while.
Stop fish. Well, and I remember growing up in Maryland with rockfish, striped bass we call them here. They was closed. You could not catch any rockfish. Like we said, we call them striped bass down here, but it was completely closed to everything. Yeah, growing up, we weren't allowed to catch them. We weren't allowed to fish for them because it was decimated. The commercial harvesting it had just absolutely decimated the population. And even now, I mean, this is I'm over 40 years old, and even now they close the seasons. They say you can only catch so much.
When we went to Maryland to see your family and all that stuff, we went to some of those Maryland Crab Company and all that, and they had videos where you just watched the Chesapeake Bay, and you got like 25 boats out there at the same time pulling in rockfish and crabs just left and right, just as commercially. And all they were doing is trying to make a living, and they showed pictures of men with guns while they were fishing. because they were shooting the other fishermen because they
It
were
was like the Wild
so
West.
obsessed with all of a sudden boats, and all of a sudden when they came out with that motorized engine like in '59, all of a sudden we were reading about this. There was
changed
like
everything.
fishing wars, literally fishing wars. They were killing each other over the potential money from these crabs and from these
that's big money.
rockfish.
It's big money.
So I'm like,
and that's why I think Ben's point about follow the money. Yeah, it's a money thing. It's
but
always
what
a money
I'm
thing.
saying is, I don't necessarily think our problem is from today. Our problem is from 50 years
we
ago.
We didn't
when there
pay
was
attention
no
to it.
regulate, there was nothing.
There was nothing.
And they were literally shooting each other for more fish.
Well, here's what the article, and I don't like the conclusion of this article because it doesn't really give you much on what to be done. But it says, our research shows the global problem of overfishing is far worse than currently recognized, so it should be done. And then they say, clearly scientists should improve the accuracy of models used to assess fish stocks. I'm like,
First
sure.
of all, yeah.
But it says, and the management of fisheries should be far more cautious to protect fish stocks around the world. This is vital for sustainable fisheries, healthy oceans, and our own food security. I don't disagree with that, but I just don't know that presents any sort of solution to the problem. Yeah, having better models is going to be...
Better models, be more careful, but I mean,
I don't know.
It just takes a while for things to grow back.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to be careful in the first place. That's the best thing. But now that that's really too late. The city of Port Aransas used to be called Tarpon.
I know. Yeah, we talk about that from time to time.
And we see pictures of tarpon everywhere. And 50 years ago, they just pulled them out and dumped them. They put them up on those big things. Yeah. They never put them back. No. They didn't take a picture and put them back. Everybody kept these fish that were literally 8 feet tall.
And it does make me wonder how long it takes a fishery to recover when it's been overfished.
Well, they don't call it tarpon anymore. And for us, seeing a tarpon in Port Aransas was more rare.
Yeah.
Like, to see one roll, we started to see it roll when we were there. But, like, people just caught them for fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were selling trips. You saw little advertisements from 50 years ago selling $50 for a tarpon trip.
So it just makes me wonder how long it would take a fishery to recover. I don't know if there's any data on that. If anybody in the chat or you're watching this later and you know something about that, I would love to.
Because the rockfish,
that's 40 years and it still hasn't recovered.
Well, but they did open it back up to
certain weekends. You can have some. The abstract from the actual. This is the actual research here from Science Advisor. They said effective fishery management requires accurate estimates of stock biomass and trends, yet assumptions in stock assessment models generate high levels of uncertainty and error. And then they talked about 230 fisheries, and it says, with consideration of bias identified retrospectively, 85% more stocks than currently recognized have collapsed below 10% of the maximum historical biomass. This high uncertainty and bias in its modeled stock estimate warrants much greater precaution by managers. My concern, and again, I'd love to hear what you guys think. My concern is that this data can also be abused and manipulated so that it's easy to go after, and I'll use red snapper, for example. It's easy to go after the recreational guys who are going out on the weekend to get their snapper, and then they're gonna shut it down. But when there's money involved and you have the commercial guys out there, they don't seem to be as willing to deal with that. Plus, you have the potential of illegal fishing that's taking a lot of the fish too. We get the reports constantly of illegal fishing going on out there. So it's just one of these problems that is, I think the complexity is so high that by the time you realize that it's a problem, it's already too late, and then it's like, oh no, oh crap, what do we do? So I don't know the answers, but I want to put that out there for you because these things are things that hopefully we can deal with now.
But at the same time, I do have to say there should be some question to their models because you don't always know. How are you really going to count all the fish in the sea?
Yeah, no, you can't.
I mean, really, you're trying different models because you're saying, well, this model shows that we were very inaccurate. Now we have this one saying, but it is really hard to count all the fish in the sea.
Ben was that one saying also, they say that 90% of statistics are made up on the spot. So, you can only put so much stock into statistics.
Do we really know? I mean, I think they can tell with salmon because they can tell, hey, they're not swimming upstream anymore.
It's
we
tough
noticed
to know.
they were gone.
It's tough. It is.
But
all right, we got one more piece of this live show before we go, and it is going to be from the Premier Hunting and Discord. Excuse me, let me say that again. It is from the Premier Fishing and Hunting Discord server, and it's going to be coming from there. We go on there, and what I do is I try to find a question that we can answer, we can help out with, and provide an answer to people, because we're all trying to learn, we're all trying to get better at fishing, and so these are people that go on there and they ask questions. So if you're not part of the server, join the server. Ask if you have questions, ask questions. A lot of people are very helpful in there to help you out. And I know Stanley is the one who started that, and we're all in there just trying to do our best to help out each other, get better at the sport of fishing. So here is the question. Let me get it up on the screen. And here it is. And it says, as soon as it loads, what hook brand are y'all using for Texas rigs? And he wanted an online shop. Like, yeah, I'll link him to my shop so he can buy our hooks. This is what hook brand are you using for Texas rigs? And by Texas rig, he's talking about a particular style of rig where you tie. It's called, a Texas rig, Carolina rigs, Texas rigs. So I thought I'd use this to talk a little bit about hooks and different hooks and how we use them, because I think that'll be helpful. When I'm using Texas rigs, now I'm assuming if you're using Texas rigs, we do use them here for inshore fishing. We've caught some big flounder on them and some big redfish on them. So you can use them in saltwater. You can use them for bass fishing as well. It really just depends on what you use. But I just want to show you a couple of different hooks that I use. Now if you want the hook brand I use Eagle Claw. That's what I use. I use Eagle Claw. So that's what I've just used those my entire life. So, and Ben says he used Owner. I don't know what stand you got to. Everybody put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Just tell us what hook brand you use. But I use Eagle Claw. That's what I grew up using. That's what I use. And there's a couple of different hooks and actually I also want to say I also use Z-Man's Trout Eyes. For jig heads, I really like them. They work really well. I do have a couple of other jig heads and things like that, but a couple of different hooks. My go-to hook is a kale hook. Looks like that. It's very similar to a circle hook, but I find that it's just more. I get more hookups with it. So my go-to is kale hooks, and I use them on Texas rigs. You can use different ones, but I'll put them on Texas rigs. I'll put them on Carolina rigs. I'll put them under a popping cork. Very versatile. I'll use them for chunk bait. I'll use them for live bait. They're just very, very versatile hook, and I really do like that. And I got let's see. Senior Mysterioso says, I'm going to try to pronounce that. I know the name of it, but I'm going to mess it up on the live stream. Gamakatsu, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those hooks, yeah.
I've got some in there. They're good hooks. They're really sharp.
Yeah.
They are really good hooks. I probably lose too many hooks to use those, though.
Oh, they're more expensive.
Yeah. Oh. I got to use the Eagle Claws because they're cheap.
Yeah.
But so that's the kale hooks. Another hook that's very popular is a circle hook. And this is a circle hook. A circle hook, you don't actually set the hook on. What you do for the circle hook is you're just going to start reeling it up. And when you reel it up, it's going to hook into the fish's mouth. So a lot of people use circle hooks as well. And one of them is mustad. And that's what I was saying. Yeah, I like mustad. Circles are my go-to, but I like O'Shaughnessy's. Yeah, they're good. Also bring variety. I'm not a brand loyalist. Yeah, for me, I'm like, what's on sale?
What's free?
What's free? Yeah, who's sending me product? So we've got the kale hooks, we've got the circle hooks, and then this is just a standard J hook. A lot of people use those. These were very popular back in the day. This was like everybody used J hooks.
Yeah. Not much anymore.
No, because they gut hook a lot. The fish swallows them whole, and they get gut hooked. So I don't recommend J hooks. That's me. I just think they create more problem, especially if you are catch and release. If you're catch and release, definitely think about using circle hooks. And matter of fact, even with this one, see that barb? If you're catch and release, bend that barb down. If you're doing catch and release, try and release the fish with as little damage as possible. I used to use these. I don't use them anymore. And I don't know why I don't, but I don't.
I mean, you can for like catfish and stuff.
Yeah, treble hooks. Sometimes I've used them underneath popping corks and stuff like that, but I don't use them as much anymore.
I always found
treble
that
hooks.
I don't know, when I'm trying to get them out, then they also get into my finger, or they get into this, and there was just like too many hooks to deal with. Too many sharp things. But you sometimes can get a better hookup ratio with children when you're using those.
If you're fishing with the kids, treble hooks are pretty easy. It says Sandra said, yes, on sale or snagged from Ben's Snapper Trip are my favorite hooks. I'm not even going to ask if you guys are stealing hooks from each other. I don't even know that, because now we've got duct tape, we've got ropes, and now we're stealing hooks. So I don't even know what's going on. But no, just kidding. Yeah, so those are the hooks that I definitely would say, if you are looking for hooks, check them out. Kale hooks are my go-to. That's just my personal favorite, and I've enjoyed using those a bunch. And then also circle hooks as well. Now, one other thing to remember about this: if you are in certain locations, especially if you're in whatever state that you're in, make sure you check your local regulations, because regulations for hooks do matter. Matter of fact, I never shark fish. And the reason why I never shark fish is because you have to have special setups for that. You can't just use any hook that you want when you're shark fishing.
When you're going for sharks.
Yeah, when you're purposely going for sharks. You got to use, I think it's circle hooks, and they have to be stainless. They have to be able to, I think it's stainless steel. They have to rush style. But there's certain things. Matter of fact, if you know that, let me know that, because that's important to know, because there are certain things. So if you're make sure if you're in Florida, wherever you are, check your regulations, because not everywhere, like in Maryland, you can't use kale hooks. Kale hooks you can't use them. So I do know that. Senior Mysterio says, never used kale hooks, but I'm gonna start using them for sheep's heads as circle hooks on No Bueno. Yeah, for sheephead, I use the smallest hook I possibly can get away with, like a 1/0. For sheep's head, I use that. I will use sometimes even a jig head like this. Like this one's a big one, but a jig head like this where it sits up. They're called bottom sweepers. If you're targeting, I would say if you're targeting sheephead, get your Google it. Go and look for bottom sweeper jigs. They work really, really well, and I've used those.
You get a smaller hook.
And yes, the small ones, because this is probably too big for that.
Tiny piece of shrimp.
A little bit of shrimp.
If you use too big of a piece, then you won't, they'll miss it.
Yeah.
They have the tiniest mouths. It's so annoying, trying to catch them. Make sure that,
so know your local regulations as well when you're dealing with that. But hopefully that'll help you. It says, oh yeah, Senior Mysterio, that's where I picked up my Shaughnessy apprehension with sheep's appreciation, excuse me, with sheep's head, circles, wook, but no near as well. I'm gonna have to check out those. I think I might. I don't know if I have any. I'll have to actually look and see if I have. Yeah, the O'Shaughnessy hooks.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I have any. I might have picked them up at one point in time.
You have your whole fishing.
Yeah, I've got my fishing cabinet over there. Hey, traveling fools! You made it! Congratulations! Thanks for stopping by the channel. Glad you're here. She's checking out the fishing cabinet right now to see if we have any. O'Shaughnessy. But anyway, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So hopefully that helps you out. Hopefully you have plans to have an awesome week. Get out there, do something awesome. Make plans this weekend. Get out there and go fishing. Do I have? Oh, those are those are the. I've got some of those as well. These are weighted. Yeah, these are weighted ones. But anyway.
More trout eyes, mustache. I don't see Shaughnessy.
Yeah, I may not. All right. Well, I'll have to check those out. So, until next time, may the fish be with you. Have an awesome weekend. We'll catch you guys here on live stream next week, 7 o'clock. We are trying the things. Happy Labor Day to everybody. Yeah, Ben, happy Labor Day to everybody. Don't go too crazy. And if you're going to do something, make sure it's not on the water where you can get hurt.
Are we doing Labor Day 7 o'clock or no?
No, we won't do live stream next week for Labor Day.
Okay.
No live stream next week for Labor Day. But happy Labor Day to you all. Enjoy your weekend. Until next time, may the fish be with you.